That's not the word I meant. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's just going to be like a really chill, I'm just about to do my makeup, and I'm going to give you a bit of a life update because I have loads of people asking me what's going on in my life at the moment, so I just thought I'd do a little video and give you a little update about what's going on with me during lockdown and this stage of my life. Also, excuse the fact that I've had like quite a breakout on my forehead. Yeah, so we're just gonna pretend that doesn't exist and I'll cover it up with foundation ASAP. I came home at the start of lockdown, so I am currently at my home and not at university, and that was purely because I was going to be coming home anyway, because it was meant to be the start of my Easter holidays literally like as soon as lockdown was announced. I just came home, I brought quite a lot of things home anyway, so there wasn't a lot left at uni, and I came home and we literally had 5 weeks holiday, and because it was meant to be 2 weeks but they extended the holiday because of the coronavirus. So I had 5 weeks of doing nothing, I had no work to do. Yeah, it was quite boring, but I kind of got my life together a little bit, tidied my room completely, got rid of junk that I had, yeah, and just had a nice time chilling at home. Did a lot of Netflix watching, not gonna lie. It ended up being me, my mum and my dad at home because my sister has moved out, and we weren't shielding because we weren't one of the people that had to shield, but me and my dad have asthma, so we basically just decided we were gonna shield anyway. So mum went out and did all the shopping for us, she still does. Yeah, and me and dad just stayed at home. Mum was doing any trips out that we needed to do. Yeah, so that is kind of the situation where we're at. Obviously with the coronavirus settling down a little bit, we don't have to shield. I mean, we weren't really properly shielding, but we're not as strict with the shielding part anymore. Yeah, my dad's going on runs and things with my sister's housemate, and my sister comes sometimes because she's a teacher. She teaches a lesson at the school and then she'll come to ours, sit in the garden for a cup of tea and a little chat and catch up with us. Yeah, so it is nice to see my sister and stuff. Obviously it's not the same, it is a little bit weird, but we'll get there eventually. So in terms of my kind of studying, it all basically got thrown out the window, and so like I said, I had that extended Easter holiday, which was lovely. It's like the longest holiday that I've ever had since leaving college. Yeah, it was a bit weird, and it was kind of like we were left in the dark a little bit from the university aspect of it. They weren't really speaking to us, they didn't really know what was going on anyway, so I kind of understand. But we're all just kind of waiting for something to happen. But many of you know that I do quite a, don't even know what the word for it is. It's like a very interactive placement. It's not the word I meant. So my course is like a very hands-on kind of course. I do midwifery, so I do have to spend some time in hospitals, but I also have like uni lectures and stuff like that. So it was kind of all a bit up in the air about were we going to be able to go back to placement, did we have to continue with studies like online. Yeah, so that was basically the news that we were kind of waiting for. We then obviously began hearing about what the kind of plan was for our course. So at the start there had been quite a lot of discussion about students going back into placement, and then kind of the NHS and our kind of midwifery boards came up with a plan and basically said students can opt to go back into placement and work and get paid for it. Now the reason for getting paid is basically because of the way the NHS contracts work. If you have a contract with the NHS and you get paid, you are an employer and you have kind of like a protection cover, so that it means if you injure yourself at work or that kind of thing, then you're entitled to compensation, or on the worst case scenario, if you die, your family is entitled to some compensation. So basically they said, we want the students to have this protection because if they get coronavirus while they're working in the hospital, we want them to have that cover, and if they get so ill that their family or themselves need some compensation of some sort, then they should be entitled to it. So that meant they had to have a contract. So they said, you can work as a student, but you need to have this contract and you will get paid. So that kind of seemed like the plan going forward. And our university prioritised getting the third years out first, which makes sense because they're more experienced, and yeah, they needed to kind of work their studies so they could still qualify on time this summer. So yeah, our university said, we're not going to think about sending the second years in at the moment, we're just going to focus on getting the third years out there. So that was kind of the deal in terms of placement, and it was just kind of placements cancelled. The other part of placement that was kind of thrown out of the window was this summer, as part of the course, I was meant to have what they call an elective placement. So that means you can choose anywhere in the world to go for a certain amount of hours and work. So you could go to like a country such as somewhere in Africa or Nepal or Thailand or India, somewhere, anything in the world, or Australia, Switzerland, America. You could literally choose anywhere to go and get some experience, and yeah, that could have been like a developing country to get some experience of what midwifery is like when there's not enough resources, or it could be in America where you have to pay for it. Can't imagine paying to have a baby, but I had decided, I was kind of like, I want to go to an English speaking country and just see how they do it differently. So my kind of options were Canada, America and Australia. And apparently Australia is very hard to get a placement as a student, no matter who you are, because of the way they have a privatised midwifery industry. And I thought it'd be really interesting to go to America and see how they did it. So I was planning on going to America this summer, and it was going to be like the trip of a lifetime. I was going to go to Los Angeles and like Hollywood, and I'd be able to have some holiday as well as working, and I'd found somewhere really nice to go. And then they were like, oh yeah, because of the whole coronavirus thing, we're also going to cancel your elective placement. So my big summer trip to America went down the drain. But hey ho, they think we might be able to do it next year at Easter time possibly, so fingers crossed. So then came like the next kind of news was that first years were getting all their exams cancelled, no matter what the subject, their exams were cancelled. I think some of them still had teaching online, like they still had to learn the stuff in their modules, but they weren't going to be assessed on it, which is fair enough. It's like a free pass from first year. So then came the news about us second years, and basically they said, we're going to move all your teaching online and we're going to hold the door on placement. We're just going to see how it goes. So they moved everything online, and this term we were meant to have 3 modules, one of them being like the hardest of the whole course. So we were all a little bit skeptical about how well that was going to go. But you know, everyone's got to do what they got to do in the middle of a global pandemic. So we ended up with these 3 modules being moved online, and then the next question was about kind of assessments. So the way that they managed to move things online was they just made all the PowerPoints available, they made some interactive like worksheets and activities for us to do as well, and they just kind of left us to our own devices. We had a weekly Zoom call, to just kind of consolidate any of the learning from the previous week, and just to see how everyone's been getting on. It worked fine. I mean, for what it wasn't too bad. I probably wouldn't ever like to do that again, but you know, we might have to if this doesn't all get sorted out by September. And then they gave us the news about the assessments. So the way we were meant to be assessed for these 3 assessments, if things were still normal, was we were meant to have 1 3-hour exam, 1 essay which was based on a workshop we would have done all together, and 1 what they call a viva, and I can't remember what it stands for, but it's basically like an oral exam, and you get given a scenario and then you just have to speak what you would do in that scenario. So obviously these can't all be done online. They moved the exam, so instead of having a 3-hour exam, they instead made it into an essay, which actually I completed this week and it wasn't too bad. Yeah, and we had plenty of support on how to do it and how it was going to be different, but I think that's gone really well, so fingers crossed for results. The essay that was meant to be based on a workshop is now instead, it's still an essay, but instead of it being based on a workshop, we just have to take an experience that we had when we were still in the hospital and doing that. So, you know, it's not too different and it's not too difficult. We've still all had experiences in hospital and placement that we can write about, so that seems fine. And the viva, the oral exam, was kept as a viva but done slightly differently. So it was done as what they call a 24-hour exam, and we basically got given the scenario at like lunchtime on a Wednesday, and we had 24 hours to read the scenario, do a bit of research, come up with an answer, and then 12 p.m. the next day we had to submit a 15-minute recording of our answer. So yeah, so that went well as well. So it's not been too bad. Like, I can definitely say I would hate a course like this to be all online, like the whole 3 years. I couldn't imagine anyone ever doing that. But for the time being it wasn't too bad, and we've managed to get through it, and we're now at this point in time where we've done those 3 modules and it's kind of like, what's next? So we basically got some information from practice saying they were happy to take second years into practice from the start of July, and so our university said this is kind of the place where we're at. You hospital are happy to take you, so we're going to give you some options. So they came up with 3 options. So you could opt in and go back into placement and get paid, or you could opt out and take a year out of the course and just kind of hit pause and come back at the same point in a year's time, and rejoin like a year behind. Or there was a 3rd option, which was that they kind of dubbed it the theory option, and you could not go into placement and instead bring forward some 3rd year stuff, and do that instead. So they're basically swapping round this placement and some theory work from 3rd year. And the theory work that they decided to swap it with was the big dissertation. Here I am going, I don't really fancy going back into placement, but I don't want to take a year out. So I kind of weighed up my options and had a bit of a chat with my parents and a couple of the girls on the course to see what they were doing as well. And I decided to choose to do the dissertation, which means I am doing my dissertation this summer, which is slightly scary because I still don't really see myself as a 3rd year. So yeah, it is a little bit weird, but we're getting plenty of support. We've already had a few Zoom calls about it. I've got a few ideas about what I want to write about, so I'm actually kind of excited, and I'm not going to have too much on to distract me from it either. So that is basically where I'm at with kind of my uni work. I'm just going to be doing my dissertation over the summer, and hopefully I'll get those 10,000 words all done when I need to in September, and then I can go back knowing that that's out of the way and I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, so that's something to look forward to. I hate this. In terms of like people I've seen during lockdown, I've obviously seen my sister because she comes to sit in the garden like after she's been at school to teach a lesson. Apart from that, I've hardly seen a lot of people. I've started seeing a little bit more people, but I'm still seeing people on more of a one-to-one basis, or like just 2 people at a time or something like that, because I'm not entirely confident with the whole, like now with the pubs opening and things, I don't think I'll go at all until it's properly safer, because you still have to stay 2 meters apart from people that you don't live with, so I don't really see the point. I'd much rather spend the time together in a relaxed environment, like going on a walk, yeah, having just a chill time in someone's garden, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not entirely confident with the whole not even meeting up with 6 people, because I know that is allowed. I know you can meet up with 6 people at a distance, but I just don't feel like I have the faith in other people yet, which has been proved by what I've seen on social media, but I'm not going to have a rant. I'm just doing what I'm comfortable with, and I've met up with a few friends just on a one-to-one basis, or just a couple of people. I've obviously gone to see my boyfriend and my friend who lives in town as well, and I've seen another friend and gone on a walk, and it's been really nice just to get out of the house, speak to someone different. As much as I love my mum and dad, we have been in a house together for 4 months now, but it's just a nice change of atmosphere, and I think not rushing into anything too quick. I'm definitely going to be probably like one of the last people to go to the pub. In terms of going back to York for uni, I think, because obviously I'm doing my dissertation, I can do that from home. There'll be no difference in me going back to uni, apart from my housemate is going back because she's doing the placement option and she's going into hospital. So if she gets a little lonely, I might come and see her and maybe move in slightly earlier, towards like the end of August and September, because I was so looking forward to moving into my new house. That'll be so good when I can eventually do that, but I'm going to hold off for now because there's not really any reason for me to do that. And also staying at home, I'm quite lucky, and mum and dad cook for me and do my washing for me, and in return I just have to bake cakes apparently. So they let me stay. So it's been really nice to come home, and especially with the nice weather, I'd often just get a picnic blanket, put a bikini on, go outside, sit in the garden and read a book for like a whole day. A, get a really nice suntan, and B, spending time reading a book was really nice, because I felt like I haven't done that in ages. And I think I'm now up to a total of 4 or 5 books that I've read during lockdown, and that is literally the most I've read in 2 years, and I've done it all in 4 months. And I didn't realise how much I missed reading. I mean, I do read midwifery textbooks, but you know, it's not the same. I just wanted to mention the Black Lives Matter movement. Obviously during lockdown it's come out quite a bit, obviously with the unfortunate death of George Floyd. Obviously, like, it's been a movement that has been around for quite a few years now, and obviously it does seem to go through its phases of when something big happens, and then it all comes out again and there's like another round of protests. I just wanted to mention it because obviously with being within the global pandemic and these awful things still happening in the world, but having time to be able to educate yourself, I think has been a good thing for everyone. I've seen a lot of people reading books about it on the subject, talking to people about it and watching documentaries on Netflix and things like that. It is a really good time if you are not aware of what the movement is all about, the history of it all as well. to go and educate yourself. One of the things that I probably recommend the most to people is to watch a documentary on Netflix called 13th, and it's really insightful and quite shocking actually, the things that they reveal in that documentary, but it really gives you a kind of taste of what the black community has gone through and what they are still going through, and it's just mind-blowing that this isn't different and there isn't legislation around it. I think it's really important that you take the time to educate yourself, which is what I have done. I'll leave some links below to petitions you can sign, books you can read, documentaries you can watch, to educate yourself and to keep this movement going, because it is really important. So that is the end of this little life update for you. If you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!